Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Fight Is All podcast. I'm Seth, and in this episode, I talk with a person from a land I always wanted to visit. Coach Hamish Robertson is from New Zealand, and as all kiwis, I know in a very cool way he combines being super calm, smiley, and cool with his warrior spirit and experience. In this conversation, we are talking about some similar mistakes we did during our fighting careers, how as coaches now we are protecting our students to do the same, some business aspects of maintaining a combat sports academy, and about coaching youngsters in MMA. Hamish Robertson is very active as a coach, and after this talk, he went to Singapore where his student Viet Anh Do won his pro MMA debut in one FC with impressive 47 seconds TKO. He is now coaching in Auckland MMA, and you can contact him by the links in the description. I'll just mention the site here, www.aucklandmma.co.nz. We recorded this podcast episode with Hamish the morning before the IMFA Taiwan Scouting session in Sydney. Having the experience with Coach Ed Bavilock that if we start talking MMA, it is hard to decide when to start recording the podcast episode. When I met with Hamish in the morning, I yelled him, "No talking before we start recording." So we silently handshake, sit and did the episode. So I hope you enjoy it and learn from it as much as I did.
Why do we fight? To protect home and family. To preserve balance and bring harmony. For our kind, the true question is, what is worth fighting for? The Fight Is All podcast.
Okay, here we go. Thanks for having me in this beautiful Sydney. Okay, so just to go, can you tell me your story in combat sports? Like how you started, like how you get involved?
Basically, when I was younger, I started in doing a little bit of kickboxing. I was never any good. I did it for about 6 months. Then I took a break. I did a couple of traditional martial arts. And then I got beat up pretty bad in Brisbane. I got jumped by about 10 guys.
Okay.
And then I started training properly. I started in MMA with Shindo on the Gold Coast with Kerry Dunn. I trained there for about 2 years. Then I moved to London, didn't train for a couple of years. Then I came back to Brisbane. I did some jiu-jitsu with Darren McKean. Then I moved to New Zealand and I started training at Strike Force in Auckland and doing kickboxing, jiu-jitsu and MMA and started fighting there. And I was there for about 5 years. I fought in New Zealand, Australia and Japan. My record wasn't very good. I'd more just take fights rather than...
You're one of those guys that...
Yeah, I was one of
just
those
take
guys.
wherever and fight with everyone.
Yeah, someone wants a fight. When I was in New Zealand, there was basically no fights. So if we wanted to fight, we get a call from Australia and they'd say, "Do you want to fight?" My first proper MMA pro fight, 2 days notice, flew to Australia. I only actually had one fight on full notice, but yeah,
that's tough, but never wise.
No, it's a good...
Everyone done it, especially from our generation,
yeah.
because like we was not really pros,
No,
not real ones.
no, it was just you took the fight, they'd give you some money. If you were lucky, they'd pay your airfare. And because there wasn't many fights around, you just have to do it. If you want to fight, you have to go. And that's a big learning thing. I don't let my guys do that. Unless oh no,
I made this a lot, and now because I know if someone calls me for sure no this fight, like just no. You know?
I don't say no. It's
Not
a calculated risk, not
but,
just yes.
I don't like it. For me, it's just a bad practice.
Yeah.
And I just try to avoid as much as I can, but
yeah.
not every time, especially with the team back in Europe, because like Bulgaria is a small country, so sometimes you just have a chance and just go for
you
it.
got to take it. Calculated risk.
Yeah.
But I started coaching in 2007 and opened my own gym in 2010. And my wife, she's a black belt. She teaches the jiu-jitsu. I'm a brown belt. I teach the MMA and the kickboxing. And we have a good fight team. I have guys that fight locally and internationally. I have a bunch of amateurs, a few pros as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm a bit old and broken, so I just coach and train jiu-jitsu.
Okay, so you still train.
I still train. Got a few injuries. I do a little bit of pad work if I've got someone I like doing pads with.
Okay.
Someone will hold in the technical pad work, but for me, I usually train jiu-jitsu 3 or 4 times a week, and that's my relaxation. And the rest of the time, I just coach.
The good the good thing with jiu-jitsu is like it's endless and you can still afford to adjust even if
Yeah.
you're a bit broken here and there, but there is always a way to adjust. While the as much as I was striking myself, the thing is striking you always get hurt, right? Even if you're good, you get hurt.
Yeah.
And it's just like every spine you just get knocked somewhere,
Yeah.
like kicked here and there. It just when you get older, the thing is that yes, spoke with Coach Ed, like when you get older,
It hurts more.
that's it. But my own coach, my kickboxing coach, who actually made me champion, he was pretty decent guy, and he told me this like way ahead. Like I was young, and I was just like, do not think about it. I was gonna get old one day. He said like when you get older, the things you don't really lose shape. I mean, like you might not like when I was young. If I don't spar 2 weeks and then I'm like, I feel like starting again. When you get a bit older, you kind of don't really lose the eyes and all this stuff. You don't really go out of shape. But I think that recovery sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can still go, you can survive with the young bucks because you use this
You use your brain.
these old dog
Yeah.
tricks, like pulling his stuff out of your pocket, being clever and tricky. But the thing is, 2 days after this, like
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like um, now I'll do one day of hard training, hard rolling. Then the next day I might just do technique. I might jump in jiu-jitsu class, do the technique, and then jump out before rolling. Or I do train for 2 days, have a day of rest day. If I do 2, 3 hard days of rolling, then I'm wrecked for a week.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like when you get to this stage, you have you kind of have push, to train more wiser.
Yeah.
So and you have to accept that you're not like 20 anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's hard.
But
We all hate it, but
it's so much fun to jump in and beat up the young guys.
yes.
You just pay for it later.
Well, the thing is to make it wise, like I I'm the same. I enjoy to go hard with someone who can take it, right? And it's if they're on the level that's fun, right? Like with everyone else, I just when I spar, I just spar. The thing is when you spar and you're a coach, you spar because of them.
Yeah,
you don't
not,
really
yeah.
Spar for yourself. You don't try to prove yourself. You spar
You
in
do,
a way
you
for them
do,
to work.
yeah, you do what they need to do.
Absolutely.
And that's actually why I stopped sparring,
Yeah.
because I was doing everything they need to do and I was getting hurt. Because I'm sparring like their opponent. I'm working on things they need to work on. It wasn't about me, so you're getting hit more.
Yeah.
So I haven't sparred kickboxing or MMA for maybe 4 years. I've got enough good guys now that I can put them in and go, hey, can you do this, this, this?
Yeah.
And they go in and do it. So
That's fun. Was you getting in roles? Like playing a tall guy, playing a short guy.
more you go southpaw or you watch what the person does.
Yeah.
And then it's like, cool, this guy just boxes, so I'm just going to box. This
Yeah.
guy tries to take them down, so I'm going to try and take them down. This guy's a kicker, I'm going to kick them. And it might not be what you specifically do normally.
Yeah.
So
That
you're not as
taking
good
roles,
at,
you're, like you're turning, you're morphing in whatever
Yeah.
they need to fight. And
It's helpful for your skill level because you learn how to do it. But yeah, it's not fun on the body.
Sure. Sweet. And speaking about coaching, what would you say like makes your coaching style different? If you could say, but
Um, to be honest, there's a lot of good coaches around, and I I try to put effort into the beginners. I'm not just coaching the fighters. I want to make sure, number one, in our gym, everyone's important. If we don't have a good let's say 90% of our or 80% of our people don't fight.
Yeah.
Maybe 50% of them want to fight. Some of them will, some of them won't. But I try to look after and make sure my fighters look after all of the general members, train with them, look after them, help them, so that we can afford to have a nice gym.
Yeah.
And all of those people, we look after them, they all come and support the guys that fight. And if we look after them, they get better. They make our fighters get better because they eventually push them. But I think the main thing is caring about the fighters, caring about all the people you train, and putting them first.
Yeah.
Putting their needs, and having a good culture in the gym, making sure everyone's relaxed. When it's time to push, they push, but they're not trying to kill each other every day.
Yeah. So when you spar guys, like how you manage the sparring? You go hard before competition, or you spar light and you go hard on pads? So how you do that in your gym?
It depends on the person and what they need. Generally, we try and get, we have two days of sparring a week. Thursday night we do kickboxing, and Saturday morning we do MMA sparring.
Okay.
We have a mixture of people in the classes. I choose everybody's rounds. So we might have 20 people in the class. I will choose each person, who they partner up with, how many rounds they do. And for the fighters, I will put them at the back. They can go a little bit harder, but it's maybe 80%, 75 to 80%. Lighter contact on the head, a little bit harder on the body, and we try to get them technical sparring. Majority of the time it's technical sparring where they're trying the stuff that they learn, they're practicing what they need to practice for the fight. And if they've got a fight coming up, I'm going to choose specific people to spar with them who mimic their opponent or have a similar style. Generally, maybe a month out, or say 4 weeks out, we'll do one hard sparring a week for them for say 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll taper it down. But I don't like hard sparring all the time. I think it's in this day and age with the amount of traumatic brain injuries and concussions and that sort of stuff, you need to be smarter about it. You need to save your brain for the fight. And if you get knocked around too much in sparring, then someone touches you on the chin in the fight, you're going to fall over.
Yeah. It happens even with the big guys.
Oh, you see it in UFC. You see someone get clipped with something that looks like nothing. They might get hit with a little hook that looks like it just glazed and they go down. But what you don't realize is they might have been dropped 3 or 4 times in sparring over the last month, which just compounds the trauma on their brain. And it's I've had 2 people knocked out from the gym in maybe the last 3 years.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. If we lose fights, it's generally by decision, occasionally by submission.
Like,
but
when I started fighting, I had a coach. He was world champion in boxing and kickboxing. He was very technical guy, lightweight, and no, he was a very smart fighter, right? He was very intelligent stamina. Like from time to time, I was going, to make pads with him because, he's one of these coaches that you don't train all the time because he was not my general coach,
Yeah.
but you go from time to time, and this guy just like telling you something that like clicks.
Yeah, just the little details.
Yeah, but if he listens, But the thing is, like, this guy told me, when you fight, the main thing is not to get beaten.
Yeah.
And then eventually you win. But if you come out of a fight and you're not beaten, you did well.
Yeah.
Because this means you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
It was a good match.
Yeah, and he was saying, like, that for him, and it sounds kind of strange to me at this time, because like, one thing is when you're trying to be a champion, one thing is like when you're looking for perspective of now. He was saying that for him, it's better if he comes from a fight without damage than winning a fight
and being broken.
And I was like, and this guy's world champion.
Well, you think you're damaged.
I'm tougher than you.
But then that puts you out for a long time.
Yeah, but then you realize that it's very clever because if you're not injured, you actually train more, you have more mat time,
Yeah.
and you excel more in the art.
Yeah.
And if you excel more in the art of fighting, with the time you reach this pinnacle,
Yeah.
which was apparently in amateur sport is being world champion.
Yeah.
And every sport, like world champion is.
Well, I used to watch the fights, and you always want to have, you see these massive wars that look cool. I had
yeah.
one of those, and after that, I never wanted to have another one because I was in pain for 6 weeks afterwards. We beat the hell out of each other for 3 rounds, and it was agony. Legs were sore, body was sore, and after that, it's like, man, you need to fight smart. You don't want to.
Well, to be honest, like for me, this changed when I started being involved in MMA. Because as a kickboxer, I was a pocket fighter, getting inside, just
Stay there,
rising and
yeah.
digging until the guys fall. That's how I like to fight. But it's funny, like I was training and I was champion already, and a Bulgarian guy, he's a world champion in some on my weight class. We was friends, and he came in the gym and he said, "Oh, bro, I have this MMA fight, and can you help me with striking it?" Because like at this time, I was kickboxer, he was sambo guy. No one was cross training. We were just the beginning of the thing. There was even making this. As the first MMA fight they was doing in Sofia. Like they was in a pub in a ring 4x4.
Yeah.
Just like like this little square.
So you're gonna grapple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
apparently.
you have to.
But so this guy's super good grappler. He's world champion in sambo. Like very good guy. So I say okay, and we make a meeting. He comes to my gym, go in the ring, rub his hand because he didn't know,
Yeah.
who the goals. And okay, now we'll spar, right? And I say like, let's spar to see, like, because I was like helping my coach, but it's not really coach this time. I wanted first to spar, like, right? And okay, we started sparring, and like if people like to talk about grappler versus striker match, that was pure. I had no idea about what grappling.
You have no idea about
absolutely
striking.
no idea about striking. So we start, and we start, like to spar, right? And I see him moving, say, this guy is stupid. And I like to kick, I was flexible, and I like to go around houses kick. I kick him, and what he does, he gets kicked in the head, make a full circle, and comes back. And I was like, this guy is easy. He's world champion. And I say, okay, I'll push him now with some boxing. And the moment I get in the close distance, grab me, I saw the whites of the gym and my heels flying somewhere there. Boom on the ground. And then he started doing, like at this time was like some awkward stuff, twisting me. And I'm coming in a position, I don't know, like I was so unaware about that I cannot even remember what position I was. But I remember the thought, man, this guy can rape me. I cannot do shit. I was like, I have to learn this shit because I was already a champion in many times in kickboxing. I'm mostly playing K1. Back in the days, I was playing full contact, walking K1, but K1 was my favorite stuff. And like you're already champion, you're in the national team, right? And comes a guy from an absolutely different sport, and you kind of meet on the middle ground. And you realize that all your 10 years of training doesn't mean shit when he grabs you. Just like, he just like, you feel this weakness, and it's burning. I say, okay, I have to learn that stuff, do you have any idea about, like becoming a grappler? I was not thinking. I was super serious about kickboxing. But instead of going running in the morning, I started going,
grappling
with the some guys to grapple without any, like any thinking about perspective. I want to become a I just wanted to learn that because I got, when you're a champion, you have this like false feeling that you're invincible. I think it's part of the thing. It's unreal. It's not real, but it's part of the thing that makes you champion. You believe that you're invincible.
Yeah.
It's absolute bias, but everyone does that in the moment while he's rising, right? And that's what actually started grappling. Was funny.
Well, I walked into I did a little bit of kickboxing, and then I was doing some traditional. I was doing kung fu, and I got sick of the instructor. He was we didn't really get on, and one of the other instructors left who I liked, so I do a little bit with him at his place, and then I wanted to get back into training, and I found a flyer for Shindo, and myself and my old Kung Fu instructor were like, oh, well, let's go check it out. They do some kickboxing. That looks like fun. And we walked in, and they were doing some grappling, and they're like, do you want to join in? We're like, that looks a bit funny. But we jumped in, they taught us a couple of things, then they choked us, armbarred us, did all this stuff, and we just walked out going, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that was, we were both there the next day waiting for the class, and from that day it was just, yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, because you kind of you're trying to learn the best thing. I know we were competing in a sport and everything, but still you have this drive to be the best fighter ever. Like it makes you feel good. When you're walking on the street, you can fight. It kind of feels good, right? But in the moment when you meet like something that is like absolutely out of your spectrum, it actually kicks your ass so easy. You're like, damn, these years and this doesn't work on this guy. Because I was thinking, okay, like you have like you have this full thing. I can do that, like I can keep him distance. No, if you don't know how to grapple, how to wrestle, you cannot strike. No, it's just
what you're too worried about. You see it in the UFC, you see it in all the fight shows. Someone's a super high level striker, but they've got no groundwork. Their striking doesn't work because they're too scared to, they hesitate, they're not loose, they don't throw the things because they're worried about being taken down. Whereas you see someone who's got good striking, who is good wrestler, good groundwork, or even some of the wrestlers or the high level jiu-jitsu guys, they're not afraid to throw stuff standing because they don't care if they go to the ground.
Yeah.
As soon
they
as you
know
worry,
what to do.
yeah,
They have the reaction, and they have the counters and
yeah. But if you're fearful of going to the ground, then your striking's not going to work as well, because every time you thinking of throwing something, it's like, oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Are they going to take me down?
And I think that there's like a absolute physical explanation about that, because and I noticed this by myself, by like coming into the mixed martial arts from striking background back in the days, is and I was studying myself why I get taken down, because I wanted to be able to go with these guys. And I find out that when you're afraid to be taken down, you get your hips back. But when you get your hips back, you cannot land a punch.
Yeah, you're too far away. You need to drive forward.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason, just because you don't think about it, but your body's naturally making, because you're trying to keep the balance. And when you get your hips back, and you cannot actually, like
extend,
get them in, and you have to put your body behind the punch. And when you get this weird, when you don't know how to, how you this weird, like butt back stance, you cannot land the punch. You might be very good, but just the awareness that you might be taken down, just taking all your striking game out, and it just doesn't work. And there's other things, like speaking about specifics, like how the stance is different in mix,
MMA,
in mix.
Just subtle differences of change of the feet, different, not as wide, not as long, a little wider, not quite as long. Yeah, it's all these things. You have the tie stance.
The weight distribution. Yeah. When I get serious about MMA, I found out that my left leg is too front, because I told them I was in kickboxing. I was using pressure fighting, but what I was doing, that was the style of my coach. I learned from him. I was catching the distance with my left, and they was digging in. Guess what? I get taken down hundreds of times with the stupid single leg. I hated this technique. Every time they get me, just because
too much weight on the front leg.
No, it was not the weight. I just like so I'm fighting far, and I stepping in, and I'm causing this and this. And the thing is, it's super hard to get rid of this stuff because it was working for you for 10 years.
Built in, yeah.
And I was practicing footwork for 2 years to change my stance. It's very hard to change your stance. That's the worst thing.
Well, that's one of the key things I work with my beginners. Stance.
Yeah.
For stand up, even like we do a 12 weeks fundamentals for the beginners, and it's basic stance and basic striking and how to hold pads. And if you can get them to have the basics good at the start, then they can learn everything. If you shortcut it and they don't have a good stance, then everything they learn down the track is not going to work as well. So if you can give them the basics, give them a good stance, make sure that's good, then they can defend a takedown, they can throw strikes, they can wrestle, they can move in, they can move out, they're always balanced. As soon as you're not balanced, you're gonna fall over, you're gonna get knocked over, you're gonna get taken down, you can't counter in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think now, because when you're coaching here in these conditions, and even back home now, because back home now, especially in Bulgaria, that the gyms are not government funded,
Yeah.
Same as here, and it's hard to be businessman and a coach in the same time. We spoke about that.
Man, I would love to just coach and not run a business, but running the business, doing the business side of things allows me to coach and live the life I want, which is good. But it would be nice to walk in the gym, teach for 2 hours and walk out and not have to do the business side of the gym. But yeah, that's just part of running a business, is part of, for me, coaching. That allows me to do everything I want.
Well, I know Eastern Europeans are famous for being dark, but we have this saying, there's no full happiness.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always
the good with the bad.
Side of something.
On the upside, it's nice to have no boss.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So you were saying, you put a lot of one of the importance of the basics.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with that, because I think that you rather have some moves but good.
Yeah.
Then playing. But it's hard. Speaking about the business side, it's hard because in present days, working here and in Europe, having maintained your own gym. In the same time, you have to make the trainings fun, but in the same time, you want to keep them, to dig in stuff. How we manage to do that, by the way?
Basically what we do, someone comes in, we have a 12 weeks fundamentals course for kickboxing, MMA, and also jiu-jitsu.
So that's like your entry.
That's our entry. So they do those. Most people, to be honest, come in and do kickboxing. We do 6 days of pad work a week, but they do the fundamentals. We teach them basic stance, basic kicks, punches, and how to hold pads. Once we see they can do that, then they can join the other pad classes, and that's where we do fun stuff. We throw more elbows, some spinning kicks, and it's a little more fun, but it's also down to who's teaching the classes. With the MMA, we teach them basic wrestling and grappling. Once we see, for generally most people, it's like 6 weeks, they have an understanding of it, then they can join in the other classes and start rolling. They do more advanced techniques, but they still have to finish that fundamentals course and get the basics. I keep my fighters training separate. I have advanced classes for kickboxing and MMA. My wife teaches the jiu-jitsu. She has fundamentals, general classes, and also advanced classes. But if someone's keen, we'll push them through a lot faster. But yeah, it's hard trying to keep that balance. Basically, the kickboxing pad classes pay the bills for the gym. Yeah, they're always full.
People want to hit pads.
Yeah, they want to hit pads. They want to get fit. They want to feel good. Not everyone wants to get punched in the face.
True.
And it's good now. Like the jiu-jitsu is really picking up, and we've got a lot of guys coming through, guys and girls coming through that are good. Our kids programs. We've got a huge kids MMA program, and I've been doing that for 9 years now, and slowly, slowly over time, it's just getting better and better. I have one of my friends, Dave, and students, David, he comes in and helps me 1 day a week. He represented New Zealand in Taekwondo, and he fought overseas for about 10 years in that, and his Taekwondo background, he's come in and helped me, and we sort of systemized the training for the kids, which made it easier rather than just, we're doing this today, we're doing this. We have, in the last year, since he's been helping me with the stand-up, it's amazing. They do a lot of sparring, all no head contact or light contact. And then I have one of my wife's purple belts, Ryan. He comes in 1 day a week, and he helps me coach them with the grappling and wrestling and grappling, and they're doing good. So hopefully, maybe next year or the year after, we'll put a few of them into the junior IMAF rules.
Well, we by the way, we're gonna do juniors now in October.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you considering coming?
I am considering coming. Just depends. Like for me, getting the juniors up to a good level of MMA sparring. I find that, to be honest, I find the rules are good. I like no head contact, but trying to teach them how to take people down with no head contact is it's a struggle because you can't actually change level and shoot without yeah. It's you can, but you have to get the timing right. So we're changing things up, giving them different options of when to shoot. So if you're doing a double leg, it's generally a defensive one. They might kick you, you might check the kick, you might counter off that. You don't really want to enter from the outside, come into range with a level change, just in case they throw a kick or a punch and you get hit in the head. It's so we're playing with the ideas of how to get them into range if we want to grapple. Stand up's fine. Most of our guys have. David's worked a lot with them on distance control and all that sort of stuff, so they're quite comfortable standing with no head contact, keeping that range, moving in, moving out. But as soon as you add takedowns with no head contact, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, to be honest, I have a guy who is 13, and I consider to put him into in this October combat when doing Gold Coast with MMA. And honestly, like was a couple of weeks I spar with him because I never fought without head contact.
Yeah, it's different, eh?
And I was like, I have to figure out how to fight that way.
Yeah.
Myself, in order not to prepare him. So
yeah,
because it's kind of challenge for me, and I don't mind, I like being challenged, because I have to think in different way now, and I like and I started sparring him just to try and start watching Kyokushin karate.
yeah,
And when I was training kickboxing back, I have friends who was doing Kyokushin, and I never competed Kyokushin, but I was going to watch Kyokushin because of my friends. And to be honest, I stole some Kyokushin moves for my kickboxing that I used for years. And there are tricks and bits there. It's interesting stuff. I don't like it because I think it's what personally bothers me with the IMF rules. It's just too much holding the guys without a head contact.
yeah.
Because I don't know. I want to. It's going to be interesting for you to say what's your feeling about it. There is a bit controversy on the IMF side when
I've
they announced
seen.
the rules.
I do not like kids getting hit in the head. Full stop. Their brains they're not fully developed, and I don't think the kids should be hit in the head. I was very happy, but it's very difficult to fight that way.
Age?
Yeah.
Because my concern is mostly from coaching perspective.
Yeah.
Because
I still teach my guys to keep their hands up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm thinking this way.
And be prepared, because there's a good chance that there's going to be a stray punch going to hit you in the head. So you need to be ready for it.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this way. So, okay. So let's say, because when you're coaching, you want to coach someone to the highest level possible, right? Hypothetically, you want to coach these guys to win world championship, right? In MMA. So, but to become world champion, even as a kid, that's still world champion.
Yeah.
So you have to dedicate, you have to explore this type of fight.
Yeah.
But in a moment, it comes to your body and turn 18, and then on next championship, you have to fight with head strikes, and it's not so easy adaptation, I think, because when I was doing kickboxing, one of the easiest opponents was the guys who were coming to Kyokushin.
Yeah.
Because you can always trick them to drop. Just by nature, when you push them, they put their heads down, because that's their reaction when they go in a striking exchange. They're protecting the body, because and that's how you get it. You just push them on combos, drop a lot of punches, and they just open their heads, and you get them.
See, for us, like basically once a kid is sort of 16, I will let them spar with the adults. But again, I make sure I choose who they spar with. I make sure the person goes light, and they do head contact, but it's all super controlled. They wear headgear, and it's all, again, it's controlled. So I'm always preparing them, but there's a difference between sparring and fighting.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Like if I've got someone who's preparing for the world champs for IMAF or junior, I've got, hopefully down the track, I'll have a few that will go maybe to the Oceanias. But if they're over a certain age or they're big and I think they've got skills, I will get them to join the adult sparring and they will do some head contact, but it's light. We put 15 kids in the Combat Expo in New Zealand. What was that? When the Oceanias were on over there, and they had mat sports, so they fought under Waco rules. They did point fighting. They did 3 different styles: point fighting, low kick, and something else. And that was involved head contact, but it was all light contact. So one of them was touch, it's points, so you touch, you get points.
Yeah.
The other ones, it's all light contact. So they were getting hit, but it's all controlled. If it's not controlled, they get pulled back and they get DQ'd. So they are aware of it. They will fight with head contact, but it's not full contact.
It's a tricky thing, the white contact, and my impression comes, so when I was in the national team in kickboxing, was competing in Balkan European Worlds. The thing is, the most chaos happened in white contact, not in full contact.
Yeah.
Just because they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But just the thinking that the rules protect you, and you don't really know, and they're woos.
Well,
but the thing is, when you woos, the strikes get proper and don't just go boom.
My first sort of fight, I guess, it was basically Kyrgyzstan rules and a gi with grappling. So there was no head contact, bare knuckle. You basically fight in a gi.
What was that? The
Kyrgyzstan rules, so you could punch, you weren't allowed to kick to the head. You could grab, you could go to the ground, and there was no striking on the ground. You could grapple.
I think they have rules like that was called Power or something.
I got my nose broken from a spinning back fist. So yeah, go figure. I won the match because I couldn't continue because my nose was like this, but he got DQ'd. But it's like, yeah, I should have defended myself. So yeah.
Well, I don't know,
But it's also for me sparring, especially with our guys. If you can't control yourself and you get frustrated, you get angry in sparring and you go hard. If you do that in a fight, you're going to gas and you're more than likely going to lose. So if you can control yourself in sparring, keep your head in the right place. If someone hits you hard, don't react, don't show them, just keep doing what you do. If someone hits you hard and then you hit them hard back and it escalates,
that's how it becomes a fight.
Yeah, that's a fight. But it's also, if you do that in the gym, there's a good chance in the fight someone's going to bait you into losing your cool, and then you're going to lose it. You're going to throw too hard. Your game plan goes out the window, and there's a good chance you might lose the fight.
Well,
you might win, but
because I have done this.
Yeah, me too.
And the thing is, in the gym when I was built was kind of this old school gyms. Like, it's very big gym. It's like probably like 200 people training there. And it's boxing and kickboxing, so we kind of train together. But the thing is, every sparring is a war, man. It just which I don't think is the right approach. It's kind of this old school approach, the tougher one stays. But I don't think it's really developing because when you spar hard all the time, absolutely saying this by my own experience, you don't really expand.
No, you just do the same things over and over again.
The same thing, the things that you rely,
you're scared.
You don't risk.
Yeah, you're scared to try new things because you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to sit in the car before sparring, go, oh, shit, I don't actually want to go in today. When a long time ago, when I was fighting, because the sparring was hard, and when I first started sparring, you get scared because there were good guys. We had a lot of good guys in the gym, very good kickboxers, and I used to sit there going, I just don't want to do it. I'd force myself to, and 6 months, a year into it, you're like, this is fun. But the first sort of few months of sparring, you're just like, holy shit, I'm gonna get beat up.
It's fun when you're good.
Yeah, it's not fun when you're the new guy.
Yeah.
So what I try and do with our guys is like we do beginner sparring. I teach people how I want them to spar, especially MMA. It's don't fight every takedown, or don't like try different things. Sometimes if you're defending the takedown, it's not working, go with it, go to the ground, but be aware that you're choosing to go to the ground so you can start your defense, you can start working. You don't have to fight everything 100%. Try everything, go to all the positions, and that way you're comfortable with it. If you're in a fight and someone takes you down, cool, you know what it's like. But if you fight everything 100% in training, people get broken.
Yeah.
Especially when you put on the little gloves, like everything has to be controlled.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And yeah, it's also, you look after your partners. Every time you go into sparring, try and have a goal in mind of what you want to do. I generally, Tuesday night, we do our technical kickboxing class for the advanced guys, which is basically all Dutch drilling. So we punch and kick each other rather than doing pads. Pads is more fitness, it's good fun, but Dutch drilling is really good. Technical drilling. And I tell them on Tuesday.
What you say? What do you mean about Dutch drilling?
Dutch drilling, basically where you both put shin pads, gloves on, and you punch and kick each other. So the combinations on the person, it's better for targeting, timing, all that sort of stuff, distance. We do that and we teach them techniques. And I tell them on Thursday night when you guys spar, this is what I want to see. I want to see you trying this stuff in sparring. Don't just rely on everything you normally do. We've done five different combos or different angles. I want to see you do it on Thursday night. If you do that, you're going to make me happy. Rather than just beating someone up and always winning, if I see you do this and actually trying it, that makes me happy.
Cool. Okay, so I just got curious about that. Like, sorry about asking you, but you just like curious about the coaching style. It's just personal interest.
It's all good. It's all good.
So how you do when you're learning uh, a striking technique, which is striking combo?
Yeah.
Because it like pretty much I think that there is kind of consensus how you want grappling technique. You know, pretty much all of us know like you drew it, but when you are trying to teach people a striking technique, which in striking perspective is normally combo on advance, not just like, we assume that when you're good enough, you don't learn the moves because you already have the base moves. You want like combos or
You
like
put them together.
Or, how you do that?
How do I teach them the combos?
Particular striking technique or combination. How you, as a coach, how you imprint that in someone's mind?
It's repetition. I pretty much adopt what the IMAF coaching thing has done now with the demonstrate 3 times with good technique at a good pace to start with.
That changes what
it does.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I start using it since the last coaching
course. And it makes a difference. Like I'll demonstrate 3 different angles. I'll do it at good speed. Then I go through and explain it. We will explain it. I'll explain how I want the hands to move, how I want the feet to move, where I want the feet, and where you finish. I generally get them in the technical drilling sessions. I'll get them to do a 5-minute round of it with the partner. I walk around, make sure they've got it. Most of the guys in that class generally, they have good basics. A lot of them are fighters, so I can show them. They watch, they learn, and they go. But what I'll do it on the Tuesday. Then on the Wednesday night pad work, I will try to work in that combo so it's a pad combo. And then on the Thursday, they spar it. If it's one of my fighters, then I'll get them in and do it on the pads with them over and over again, round after round after round. We might add on. We might put angles in it. We might change it, but the base of the combo is the same.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So you don't show them one day and they get it. I need to.
It doesn't work.
Often
you
I'll
show them and they come to the next training. It's already gone.
Often I'll have a theme for my pad work each week. When I teach the pad work and the kickboxing, I'm doing this week. So Tuesday I'll do this, Wednesday I do this. I do it the same, but I might do it a little different
Yeah,
on the pads. Then I'll do it Thursday. I might get them before sparring. I want you to drill this combo, grab a partner, 5 minutes, let's go. And then I tell them, this is what I want to see. And then if it's one of my fighters, we get them on the pads once or twice a week, and we try to actually drill it in with them so it's part of their game plan. But you need to show them multiple times. You need to get them to drill it. And if it's a fight, you're going to do it for 5 or 6 weeks.
Sweet. So what's next for your team now after we finish this course today?
Tomorrow I go to Singapore. One of my boys, Viet Anh Do, he's fighting on One Warrior. He was the XFC. He won the XFC title, amateur title last year at flyweight. So he's fighting a Korean guy on Thursday.
Is it pro match? Another one?
Yeah.
As well, no?
No, this is his first pro fight. Rich Franklin came to New Zealand in February and signed him. He's got a lot of potential. So he fights then. Then July 12th, my number one fighter, Ev Ting, he fights in Kuala Lumpur against Daichi Abe, who's a Japanese guy who's fought in UFC. So that'll be a good fight. And then we got some kickboxing fights coming up in July. And then I'm looking around for some MMA fights for some of my other guys. So yeah, busy times.
Busy schedule.
Yeah.
It's fun, I guess. It's cool.
No, it's good. It's fun. It's a good life. Better than sitting behind a desk.
True. It's you're not that rich, but like this Bob Marley quote, but you're not looking for this kind of riches.
No. I used to earn a lot more money. I worked in finance for a few years. I was a project manager for a construction company for a while, and I earned I earned 2-3 times more than I earn now, but I had no freedom. I hated my job.
You're like enslaved in this.
Yeah. Now I'm
circle. Yeah.
I've found my groove. I work maybe 6 hours a day. I usually work 7 days a week, but it's fun.
You don't feel it as work because you kind of like you keep learning, you keep discovering something. Kind of you're working, but it's still a passionate work. So it's
the other thing. I love all my fighters. Like that's my favorite classes of the week are going in and training with my fighters because most of them have been with me for sort of 3 to 5 years. Ev, my number one guy, he's been with me for 9 years, and I spend so much time with them. But we still have the coach-student relationship, but we're tight, and I love being around them. I love training them. So, like, the gym's fun, but when I get to work with the fighters 2 days a week, just them, and I get to watch them improve, and that's my fun time. Yeah.
So how people can find your place to train? And how they can get in touch with you?
Basically, aucklandmma.co.nz is our website. We're on Facebook.
Say it again, like
Auckland,
because it's on record as well.
aucklandmma.co.nz. We're based in Auckland, New Zealand.
I'm gonna put that in the description.
Yeah, cool. We have Instagram. We have Facebook page. If you want to, we put up lots of videos of the gym and the people training, fighting, and all that sort of stuff. My wife runs the jiu-jitsu side of things, which is VR jiu-jitsu. She's a very high-level black belt, so we have the best of both worlds.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you a last philosophical question just to wrap up.
Okay.
You have to have a name,
Yeah,
that works.
Pushed up.
Okay, what is worth fighting for you?
What's what?
What is worth fighting for?
What is worth fighting for?
Yeah.
There's lots of things worth fighting for. Obviously, your family, your friends, your club. I don't know. Used to be fighting for money, but not anymore. But yeah, it's, to be honest, I think most people, the really good fighters, just love to fight. Like I love to fight. If I could now, I would fight. I just can't make it through the training camp, and I'm 45. I just love that feeling of walking out, and yeah, it's testing yourself.
It's for a while. It never goes. Never goes. And kind of the coaching gives you this just to get a bit of it by being the guy behind.
But see,
you're still, you're still in this workout,
I would
making someone to live the dream.
I would rather be in there getting beat up than watching one of my students get beat up. That kills me, knowing that I can't do anything about it. I
want to do it.
Yeah, I'd rather you beat me up than beat up my student. It's I don't.
Do you yell what in the corner?
Sometimes I talk a lot. I sometimes give the officials a little bit of grief. Some of the referees in New Zealand don't really like me. I talk a little bit. I give them a bit of shit from the corner, but it's their job. They sign up for it.
Okay, referees don't get harmed, my friend. Okay, thanks for that, brother.
Awesome, thank you.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure working with you on the course as well. I learned a lot from watching you in the first one. There's a lot of little details that you do that I like a lot, and you have to come and visit.
Oh, always a big pleasure. I always wanted to go to New Zealand. It's my bucket list.
Yeah, well, if you want a place to train, you come over.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I'll show you around Auckland, and there's a lot of gyms around New Zealand. If you want to travel around, I can put you in touch with.
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Okay, good luck in your team in the next challenges.
Awesome, thank you.
No, really wish you all the best, and I hope to see you in October on the comp in Gold Coast.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try.
Hopefully, it will be fun.
I'm
excited because
we'll see if my wife lets me leave the country again.
Take her with you.
Yeah, she doesn't like to go to certain places. I don't know. We'll see. Nice. Yeah. I lived there for almost 10 years, so.
Okay, sweet. I think it's time for us to go.
Yeah.
Sweet, cheers. Thank you for listening to the Fight Is All podcast. Subscribe in your podcast app to receive the next episode when I will meet you with a super cool person and with tons of fighting experience. Brian Eberso has 71 professional fights with 51 wins. He was fighting in UFC, Shooto, Strikeforce, King of the Cage, just to name a few. We talk about the history behind his signature chest arrow, the most unique UFC fight bonus ever, and how Dana White can actually be noble. We also talk how important is the positive image of a fighter and the importance of the periodization in the MMA sport.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.